Galera, hoje a gente vai estar jogando aqui, ó, esse jogo aqui do Stanley, tá? Stanley já tá pronto já, né, Stanley? Hã? E é isso daí, tá? Então, ó, vambora então. Deixa recarregar o bagulho aqui. Aí a gente já começa já, tá? Meus Stanleyzinhos. Pera aí que tá carregando aqui o Stanley 2. Deixa eu carregar aqui o Lux. Pera aí. Olha lá, carregou já. Aqui, ó. Ó. Bom, vamos selecionar aqui então, ó, português. Aqui, ó. Confirmar. Você já jogou o The Stanley Parable antes? Não. Tá, ajuste o controle deslizante até que o computador quase não seja visível. Então tá. Ó, insira a hora atual. A hora atual é 10h54 da manhã, tá? Então, agora são 10h54. Aqui, ó, 10h54. 10h54. Tá. 10h54, sua mula. Oxe, é burro? 10h54, pronto. Tá, ok. Aí, beleza. Aí, ó, deixa eu ver o que ele mandou aqui. Observação: as configurações de acessibilidade podem ser acessadas a partir do menu principal. Tá. E aí, Fanfub, tudo bem? Pera aí, deixa eu aumentar o volume da TV aqui. Eu tinha esquecido que eu tinha deixado baixo ontem. Não, eu dormi escutando música ontem, cara. Acordei o bagulho com uma sonzeira aqui e falei, de onde é que tá vindo esse som? E quando eu olhei assim, o som tocando aqui, cara, na TV ontem. Ontem não, hoje, né, no caso, porque eu virei. Ai, ai,
KKK.
manda o Discord aí. Eu vou deixar fixado ele hoje aí. Tá. As configurações de acessibilidade podem ser acessadas a partir do menu principal. Ok. Ohayou gozaimasu. Você está jogando a Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Bom, temos configurações, temos campo de visão, vibração, temos idioma português, legendas ligado, mostrar retículo desligado, ok. Dados do jogador e tal, beleza, ok. Créditos e... Olha, mano, quando eu mexo aqui, ele mexe ali no computador ali, ó. Olha que doideira isso aqui, velho. O jogo é tipo... Como é que é? Aquele bagulho lá. Ó, essa live aqui não vai ter thumb. Não vai ter thumb essa live porque eu não sei se esse jogo ele tem uma thumb.
Tudo bem. Coração brilhante, rosto de gato com sorriso irônico procurando vazamentos do Fortnite ou me acompanhar, entre no nosso Discord.
Trabalho do funcionário número 427.
Arigato e brilhos.
Não, cara, o cara parece um robô apertando. Cara, esse jogo aí, eu tô pra gravar ele desde que começou o mês e eu não consegui gravar. Você tem noção, mano? Pô, o Stanley tem uma sala grande até, hein, cara? Pô, maior espaço na sala dele aí, cara.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ah, é pra mim levantar? Nossa, eu tava brisando ali, cara, achando que ia ter alguma animação, alguma coisa, né? Falei, pô, o cara vai levantar ali, né, mano? Não, eu fiquei travado assim, olhando. Ai, meu Deus do céu, velho, meu Deus do céu. Faz ideia. Lembrando vocês que hoje eu vou gravar 2 lives de FNAF aqui no canal, tá? Beleza? Lá no Fortnite. Cara, é bem interessante as salas aqui, né? Mas
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley
parece que ele tá sonhando, mano. Eu acho que ele tá sonhando, cara. Porque tá muito estranho isso aqui. Olha lá o computador. Eu acho que ele tá sonhando, tá? Eu também tenho sonhos bem estranhos, mano. Tem sonho que eu tô caindo ali, tem sonho que é cada brisa, cara. A gente acorda ali louco. Ele não pula, não? Cadê? Não, o Stanley é um fantasma, né, cara? Ele não tem... Cadê o pé dele? Entendeu, mano? O cara não tem... Entendeu? Olha lá, ele nem reflexo no espelho ele tem, cara. Pô, não é possível, Stanley. Você é o quê? É um fantasma, cara? Ai, Stanley. Stanley IPYKES. É o Máscara. Não, olha esse quadro aqui, ó. É uma planta com água. E tá bem realista até, hein, cara. Parece que foi feito por IA, né? Esse quadro aqui, né? Ó. Cara, esse lugar aqui... Sabe o que esse lugar me lembra, mano? A ordem imaginária por dentro, mano. Ixi, tem 2 portas, cara, pra entrar. Ih, caramba, hein? Eu odeio ter que ficar escolhendo qual porta que eu vou entrar, cara. Tá, eu vou fixar esse negócio que vocês mandaram aí e eu já volto.
Stanley just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I had nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley and I are on such good terms.
Eu vou fechar o olho e vou ir numa porta, mano. Não, já sei. Vou me virar de costas. Eu vou me virar de costas aqui, ó. Vou fechar o olho e vou ir numa porta, cara. Vou ir pra trás. Na primeira porta que eu entrar, vamos lá. Eu não vou escolher. Vou deixar o aleatório escolher pra mim. Deixa eu ver. Onde eu tô? Tô nessa porta, então eu vou nela. Olha lá, fechou a porta, hein? A porta fechou sozinha, cara. Que merda é essa? Ô, meu amigo, abre essa merda. Abre! Abre essa droga! Ô, vocês estão querendo me derrubar aqui, rapá? Aqui é a sala de reuniões. As portas estão fechando sozinhas aqui, cara. Que é isso aí? Tem vida própria o negócio, meu irmão? Peraí, né? Peraí, cadê? Mano, esse negócio aqui tá me lembrando aqueles jogos que os caras fazem, mano. No modo criativo do Fortnite, cara. Meu Deus do céu, hein, mano. Nossa, eu vou te falar, hein, cara. Nossa. olha isso aqui. A porta tá fechando sozinha, cara. Meu amigo, isso não é normal não, velho.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ah, eu não vou descer lá embaixo não. Tem uma luz vermelha aqui, ó. Ah, cara, eu não sei não, hein. Aqui é a garagem, né, do jogo. Eu não vou entrar ali agora, não. Eu vou subir primeiro. Eu quero ver o que tem lá em cima. Bom, não fechou a porta, né, então. A porta não fechou, então... Desgraça! Só porque eu falei que não fechou? Aí você fecha, né? Sua porcaria.
Stepping into his manager's
Ai, que
office,
susto, cara.
Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret
Ah,
was
não,
being
cara,
held
você tá
from
de
him?
sacanagem. Que tem
What he
por...
could not have known
Não,
was
não,
that
não,
the
você tá de
keypad behind the
brincadeira,
boss's
cara.
desk guarded
É
the
sério que eu vou ter que
terrible
colocar,
truth that his
achar o
boss
número.
had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number.
Eu sabia que eu devia ter ido embora. 2845.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2, 8, 4, 5.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Oxi! Que é isso aqui, cara? Uma passagem secreta? Olha só, não acredito. O cara é o quê? É o Batman, por acaso, mano? Pra ter uma sala secreta no escritório, o cara é o Batman, né? Tem um botão aqui. Ah, vou apertar. Peraí, esse botão aqui, ele leva direto pro estacionamento, né? Onde a gente devia ter entrado? Ou eu tô ficando louco? Não, eu não tô ficando louco, não.
Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Pronto, voltei. Deixa eu ver o que tá pegando aqui. Opa, pera aí, tem um barulho aqui, hein, cara. Ai, meu Deus, que susto. Nossa, cara. Meu Deus, nossa. Não, o cara se assustou com a luz, mano. Como é que pode uma coisa dessa? Escape. Escape, mano. Mind Control Facility. Ah, cara. Tem um computador ali, mano. Eu sou curioso, mano. Eu vou ter que olhar, mas vocês me desculpem. Eu vou ter que olhar esse computador aqui, cara. Eu vou ter que olhar, galera.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place
Nossa, que é isso aqui, cara? Parece aquele negócio do Charles Xavier, mano. Né, o cérebro lá dos X-Men lá, que o Charles Xavier usa, cara, igualzinho. Essa sala aqui parece, hein, cara, com aquela... Oxi.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building.
Nossa, cara, olha o tanto de negócio que tem ali, velho.
So many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them,
Você tá doido?
in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Ah lá, tem um ali que tá bugado, hein, ali, ó. Que viagem.
This mind control horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job?
Stanley, o bagulho é louco, o processo é lento.
Manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ah, peraí, tem coisa errada aqui, cara. Peraí. Eu quero... Oxi. Peraí. O que tá acontecendo aqui? Aqui, ó. Ué? Não aconteceu nada. Ué? Não é aqui, né? Ah lá, tem um botão lá em cima ali, ó. Espera aí, tem um botão lá em cima e tem um botão aqui, ó. Número 5, 3. Eu acho que tem que apertar na ordem, né? 5, 3. Cadê a escada? Ué, não dá pra entrar, cara? Na verdade, eu não tô enxergando nada, mano. Eu nem sabia que tinha um portão ali, cara. Desde cara com o portão ali. 1. 2. Oh, 3. Ali em cima ali deve ser o número 4. E aqui, ó, por último é o número 5. O número 4 não dá pra apertar, porque ele tá lá em cima. Tem que abrir o portão primeiro.
And when at last he found the source... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
Meu Deus, eu não acredito que eu fiz isso.
Let's say 2 minutes.
2 minutos? Você tá louco, rapaz? Desliga essa merda!
It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now.
Meu Deus do céu. Não acredito.
Than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments.
Ai, meu Deus, vai dar merda.
More time to talk.
Vai dar merda, vai dar merda.
About me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start. What's that?
Meu Deus, vai dar
I'd
merda.
like to know where your co-workers are. A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
Corre.
All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly.
Ah,
what
peraí.
happened. I erased it. I turned off the machine. I set you free.
Tá bom. Vamos lá, muita calma nessa hora.
In this instance of the story.
Muita calma nessa hora. Tá, é número 1.
Sit there in your office forever, pushing
2.
buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside.
3.
Or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich.
4.
I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Ah, você tá de sacanagem. Ah, não. Ai, meu Deus.
You have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy.
Você tá de brincadeira.
You want to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me.
Meu Deus do céu, eu não vou aguentar. Eu não vou aguentar. Eu não vou aguentar, meu Deus. Meu Deus, eu não vou aguentar. Ai. Ai, meu Deus. Meu Deus. Ai. Nossa. Ué, eu voltei no tempo?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to
Meu
go
Deus,
to the
meu
meeting room.
Deus.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Nossa, cara, você tá maluco? Tá, beleza, vai, vamos voltar lá. Dessa vez eu vou ir na porta da direita, tá? A gente foi na porta da esquerda, eu vou na porta da direita.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Meu Deus, cara, meu Deus.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Meu Deus, cara, meu Deus. Ah, não sei não, hein, cara. Aqui essa sala aqui tá parecendo igual a outra lá, hein, mano. Ai, 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 hein. Ai, ai, ai.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Meu Deus.
Vai na fé.
Eu tô indo na fé mesmo, e na ceguice também, né? De olho fechado. Mano, olha isso aqui, olha o tamanho das prateleiras que tem aqui, cara.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Pô, cara, tá escuro aqui, eu vou entrar na porta, velho. Ué?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to
Ela
her.
quem?
If you can truly place your faith in another.
Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Que é isso, cara? Oxe.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Mas que diabos é isso?
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Rapá, tira isso aqui da minha frente.
This is a very sad story about the death
É um manequim de mulher, cara. Negócio assim, feio. Bom dia, funcionário 427, aperte.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Que TV? Ah, tá.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Eu não vou apertar. Eu não vou apertar, cara. Eu não vou. Eu não vou apertar, cara. Eu não vou. Eu me recuso a apertar, cara. Eu me recuso. Eu não vou apertar, cara. Não vou. Eu não vou apertar, velho. Oi! Já baixou? Eu não vou apertar. Pô, cara, mas não é possível, mano. Eu não apertei e não aconteceu nada, cara. Nada.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Rapaz.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules.
Você tá me testando, né? Você tá me testando, rapaz. Você tá me testando, tá? Você tá me testando, meu.
I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Mas de novo eu nasci aqui, cara.
Co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is
Mano, isso aqui é um loop infinito, né? Esse bagulho aqui é um loop, mano. Eu tô andando aqui, entrando na mesma porta toda hora, cara. Não é possível, deve estar escrito otário na minha testa, né? Rapaz, você tá de brincadeira. Isso aqui é um loop, mano. Eu tô loopando. Rapaz, se tem alguém que entende de looping, sou eu. 7 anos preso num loop chamado Fortnite.
He thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes. This room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake. No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Ah, não.
No.
No.
This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my
Pô,
time
cara, esse
trying to
lugar
solve
aqui de
this
novo,
nonsense,
velho.
we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't want us so far off track.
Vai na fé. Sensei. Kakai real.
All of his co-workers were gone.
AMDS.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Tem mais porta agora aberta?
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Que viagem é essa?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything? Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps. Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Ué.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. Just follow the line. How simple is that? You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood. Cut the music, go back and look at that fern. Wait, what? We're back at the office? No.
Peraí.
You do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again, Line. How could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Well, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Ué.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction? Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine. Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere. Which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits. Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game eight times? That's really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait, you know. I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Ah, meu Deus do céu.
Existe. Vai na fé. Sensei. KKR real. AAMDS.
Hi, Stanley. Just wanted to leave you a message to let you know there's a few things I need you to pick up on your way home from work today. We need milk, cereal, dish soap, spaghetti, get a thing of sugar, some bread, and coffee beans, whichever ones you like. I'll give you a call if there's anything I forgot. Thanks, sweetie. See you tonight.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping him coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What? Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music. Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game back in his office as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Acabou então? Eu zerei? É o final aqui ou é mais coisa para estender?
Stanley pushed the orange lever. Stanley pushed the big red button. Stanley stood on the roof. Stanley stood on the snow. Stanley jumped in the river.
Caraca, é como se eu tivesse, tipo... No final do... É como se eu tivesse, tipo, no limbo do jogo, tipo, no desenvolvimento dele, né? O lugar onde eles desenvolveram.
Conversei com um cara aqui na loja comprar o Xbox 360 desbloqueado com 90 jogos grátis.
Meu Deus do céu. Boa sorte, então.
Com mais jogos.
Boa sorte.
KK. MDSS.
Em 2012, cara? Olha lá, ó, que brisa. Negócio com maior textura de jogo de Play 2, cara, olha. Pô, cara, 2012 também, né, mano? Olha lá, ó a brisa. Olha. Olha isso aqui, mano. Ah, você tá doida? Que é isso, cara?
Tá tudo certo trabalhar lá.
Eu nem tô mais lá.
MAO. Ele saiu. JA ontem.
Tá doido.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Caraca, tem como desligar o jogo, velho. Olha aqui. Ah, não, mano. Você tá de sacanagem, velho. Eu vou apertar, cara. Ah.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still
Cara, aquele trabalho que eu tava fazendo lá, Teba, ele era uma droga, cara.
Turn off your PlayStation. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Ui! A mulher falando pra eu desligar o PlayStation. Desligar o PlayStation. Caraca, que brisa. Ai, caramba. Então é isso, galera. Tá, é isso aí. Desligar o PlayStation. Ai, ai, ai. Pera aí, tem uma sala que eu não olhei. Novo conteúdo? Oxi.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Ué? Peraí, isso aqui é novo, cara. Isso aqui é novo. Novo conteúdo? Caraca, mano, eu quebrei o jogo, né, velho? Eu quebrei o jogo, velho.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in
Nossa, mano, o jogo foi lançado em 2013? Você tá louco?
Receiving critical and commercial success, it
Olha lá.
was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and
Aqui é como se ele estivesse contando a história, né, mano? Da trajetória do jogo, né, velho? Olha lá.
Features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator.
Pô, que elevadorzinho mais feio, hein?
But I'm sure it's just the beginning.
Elevadorzinho de filme de terror, mano. Olha esse elevador aqui. Eu entrei. Elevadorzinho feio, mano.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we...
Ah, nem tem botão pra apertar no elevador?
Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's
Oxe, que elevador é esse, cara? Você é louco, hein?
Let's do it.
Não tem nem botão pra apertar no bagulho, cara. Você tá vendo o nível disso aqui?
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Ah,
All right.
você quer saber a verdade? Eu também quero.
The jump circle?
Saltos restantes, 36. Peraí, você quer que eu pule 35 vezes, cara? Tá de sacanagem. Pera aí. Deixa eu só ver o que tem.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Não, eu vou voltar lá e vou pular, mano, também, vai. Eu vou tacar o dane-se aqui, vai. Vamos lá. Mais um pulinho. Você quer mais um pulinho? Ah. Não aconteceu nada. Era o esperado.
Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just
Cara, esse jogo aqui é louco, mano.
Is this what passes for
É louco esse jogo aqui. Esse jogo aqui é louco.
If this is
É
new
louco.
content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes, I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's trophies, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test trophy, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks, just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend? Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something! Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
What the?
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap PlayStation port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Oi.
Oi, Lulu.
Oi, Lulu. Cadê bem?
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism. 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content. Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the PlayStation, boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise. These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh, no. Oh, God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them. Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the... Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes. Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you... Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only... But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you. You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for. Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential. Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Existe. Tudo. Bom. Tá jogando ok. Minecraft.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Rapaz, eu vou falar pra vocês, viu? Vamos lá pro próximo larga antes que eu fique louco aqui.
KKK.
Virar um espacinho aqui. Ai, ai.
Sensei.
O FNAF? Vambora. Olha lá.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized.
Vambora hoje tem muita live pra fazer.
So with that in mind,
Então não vamos
my
enrolar
first
não.
addition to the game is